Well, I hadn't ever experienced it before Celebration 1. So this is now the third one of these conventions that I've come to, and I'd never been to a Star Wars convention before this, and it's amazing. The level of commitment from the fans is unbelievable. All the homemade costumes and all of that, it's amazing.
Getting back to talking about making the prequel, are we good? Yeah. Let's talk about Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Are we in for a treat? Is this going to be a spectacular film? Is this the film that everybody's been waiting to see?
Well, I hope so. It's there's a lot of great action. I think it's in terms of visual effects, it's the best of all of them. I think it looks pretty good.
When you make a film like that, I remember in Return of the Jedi there were stories where you had to use potatoes as ships and there were shoes as ships. There were all kinds of things like that just to make an epic space battle. But now it's mostly computer generated with what we're going to see in space. So how do you make a space battle in this film look like a space battle in Return of the Jedi? Something that was used with all models practically.
Well, to some extent, we were trying to make this space battle look a little different because there's been a space battle in each of the 6 pictures, and this one we wanted to do something that was big and spectacular, but had its own unique look. So the premise here is that we're not quite in space; we're in the upper reaches of the atmosphere. So that gives me a little bit of license to do things like drag and smoke trails and smoky explosions. So there's a little bit of a different look to this one because of that.
Yoda is a completely digital character in this film as in the last. Do you prefer to work with a digital Yoda than you would with a puppet Yoda? I mean, does it enable you to really expand that character?
I think we can actually do a little bit better performance with the digital Yoda because there are a lot of fine controls that you've got that are sort of hard to do with a rubber puppet. So I think we got better acting out of him. He has better facial expressions and that sort of thing. He's also capable of doing fighting that he can't do as a puppet.
What's the biggest reward for you when you complete a film, when you see that final cut? Is it a sense of completion? Is it sad for you to finish Episode 3 because it's the last film in the saga? I mean, George has specifically said there's not going to be another movie. When you complete a project like this and you know that that's the end of it, how does that feel? Is there a sense of completion?
It's been a long road for me now. I've been working since the special editions now for 10 years on the Star Wars pictures. And they're great fun to do, and I do really enjoy them. But they're also really tiring to do. I'm sort of exhausted having now finished Episode 3, and it'll be good to do something a little different for a while.
What's the future of Star Wars? This is a question that everybody wants answered. There's rumors that there will be a TV show. There won't be movies. Is there something you can tell us, let us insight into the future of the Star Wars universe?
I don't know. I think that's a good question for George.
You've got a book coming out in the fall.
Yes.
Let's talk about putting that book together. It's something that I'm definitely going to buy. Where did the idea come from, and why make a book now?
Well, the idea for the book originally came from reference pictures that I was taking on Episodes 2 and 3 mostly. I brought a camera that had a fisheye lens attachment on it, and I had a nodal rotator that would let me rotate the camera around the center of the lens. And I took to, on every set that we were shooting on, I would shoot a panorama. So I'd take a number of these images with a fisheye lens, and I would then stitch them together into a 360-degree panorama. And they were originally intended to just be reference pictures because I had an experience on the last picture where I needed to get panoramas for a couple of reasons. I needed to get them to be reflection environments for characters. So even a character that isn't particularly shiny, just like Watto, you would see reflections in his eye, and the reflections need to be of the environment around him. So I wanted to have a reflection environment for all the sets we were on. So what I had done on Episode 1 is I brought a still camera with a very wide lens, and I shot a whole bunch of stills, and then I would very manually stitch them together to make an environment. But I decided I wanted to do something a little better than that for Episode 2, and so I had this camera with a fisheye lens. And I would photograph the environment, and I'd stitch them together and make a little QuickTime VR out of it. And it turned out those were also really good for lighting reference, so that you could look and in the VR, you could look up and see where all the lights were in the scene. And so it was helpful for kind of remembering what the arrangement was on the set. But they were really neat to look at, just unfolded. And I thought it would be great for somebody to be able to see these somehow, because I had a whole bunch of them. And by the time I'd finished the plate sheet on episode 3, I had about 250 of these. And a lot of them are really cool to look at. And so the original idea was, let's reproduce a bunch of these panoramas of here's what we had as set. And then I would show what we used to extend the rest of the set, whether it was a miniature or map painting or computer graphics. And then show some samples of what that turned into in the end. That was the original idea. And the publisher came back to me with, okay, we like this idea, but it needs to cover all 6 pictures. And so since I didn't have these panoramas for episodes 4, 5, 6, or even for 1, then it meant a lot of research. I had to go to the Lucasfilm image archives to try and gather pictures that could show the same thing, to show what we had as a set piece to begin with, and then what was used to create the rest of the environment, and then show the finished result. And so as a result, I spent a couple of months, every lunch hour for all of October, November, and December, and a little bit of January. So I spent a long time out there kind of pawing through thousands and thousands of pictures. And I found all kinds of stuff that had never been reproduced before. There were whole books of black and white photographs that nobody had ever really looked at before. I said, these are great pictures. Why has nobody looked through these before? And the answer was, well, it's black and white, and nobody's interested in printing black and white. I said, well, I am. So I've included a number of these black and white pictures that are they're really cool behind the scenes stuff.
What do you want people to take away from watching episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? When they walk out of that movie theater, what do you want the feeling that they carry with them to be? The fans and just regular people who are just coming to watch the film because they like Star Wars.
Well, the thing that everybody wants to know is, how does Darth Vader become Darth Vader? How does Anakin go from being on the side of good to evil? How does that happen? How does he get seduced by the dark side? And here we'll see how it happens. And hopefully it's believable. You understand why he does what he does and why he becomes the Darth Vader we know and love from the original trilogy.